Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and former U.S. President Donald Trump had a significant encounter in Rome during the funeral of Pope Francis, marking their first in-person meeting since their contentious Oval Office exchange earlier this year. Although they were seated apart due to the French alphabetical arrangement at the Vatican, both leaders occupied front-row seats at St. Peter's Square, separated by other prominent global figures. This meeting follows a heated confrontation in February, where Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance reportedly confronted Zelensky over what they perceived as a lack of appreciation for American support. The atmosphere during that previous encounter was charged, with both U.S. leaders expressing frustration over Ukraine's response to military assistance. On the day of the Pope's funeral, Zelensky and Trump were photographed engaged in a deep discussion just moments before the ceremonial proceedings were set to begin. The White House characterized their 15-minute conversation in St. Peter's Basilica as very productive, while Zelensky described it as very symbolic, expressing hope that it could lead to a historic outcome. After leaving Rome, Trump directed his criticism towards Russian President Vladimir Putin, questioning his commitment to ending the ongoing conflict, particularly following recent missile strikes on Kyiv by Russian forces. On his social media platform, Trump stated there was no justification for Putin to launch missiles into civilian regions, suggesting that perhaps Putin was not genuinely interested in peace, but rather manipulating the situation. He indicated that alternative strategies, such as banking or secondary sanctions, might be necessary to address the conflict. Previously, Trump had indicated that Russia and Ukraine were very close to a deal, following discussions between his envoy, Steve Witkoff, and Putin. The Kremlin announced that Putin had confirmed to Witkoff Russia's willingness to engage in direct talks with Ukraine without preconditions. This recent meeting in Rome was particularly noteworthy, as it was their first face-to-face interaction since their February White House encounter, during which Trump asserted to Zelensky that "you don't have the cards in the ongoing conflict," implying that Ukraine was not in a favorable position against Russia. Trump reiterated this sentiment during their recent discussion, stating that Zelensky had no cards to play and previously criticized Ukraine for allegedly instigating the war, often portraying Zelensky as an obstacle to achieving peace. Despite the tense history, the White House adopted a more optimistic tone regarding Saturday's meeting. Zelensky emphasized the potential significance of their dialogue, calling it a very symbolic meeting with the promise of becoming historic if they can achieve meaningful outcomes together. Images released from the meeting depicted Trump in a blue suit and Zelensky in a black ensemble, sitting across from each other engaged in focused conversation. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha shared an image on X, captioning it, "No words are needed to describe the importance of this historic meeting. Two leaders striving for peace in St. Peter's Basilica." Another image shared by the Ukrainian delegation showed the two leaders alongside British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron, with Macron placing a supportive hand on Zelensky's shoulder. This gathering underscored the ongoing international efforts to navigate the complexities of the conflict in Ukraine and the pivotal roles these leaders play in seeking resolution.